if you are wondering, what is a personal brand? Why should I build one? You're already building one. Like if you are creating content out there on TikTok or anywhere out there in the world, if you are a human, you are building a personal brand, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. Who you are and the way you convey yourself in your content and just out there in the world is your brand. In my opinion, building a personal brand is the best way to build a long-term sustainable business. And hey, Charlie, hey, Lori. And that's not just because that's the path that I chose. That will open, building an effective personal brand will open doors that you can't even conceive of at this point. Things that you didn't even know that you were capable of or interested in, you will be able to do because you're building your brand around your own greatest asset in your business. The one thing that differentiates you from anyone else out there who's promoting the same thing, selling the same thing, has a similar offer to you, it's you. Just like there are 50,000, types of Coca-Cola or Cheerios at the store, each person has their own unique vibe that they're attracted to, that they're going to resonate with. And your people are out there on TikTok or wherever waiting to stumble across your content and resonate with it. They're going to see you and be like, wow, she's so authentic. She's so, it seems like somebody I would know in real life and be cool with. And she reminds me of myself, or she reminds me of my mom or my sister or whoever. And so when you are showing up as your authentic self in your content, you allow your audience to get to know, like, and trust you. And people buy from people, not logos, that they know, like, and trust. So the thing that I love about building a personal brand and online business in general is that when done right, it's a win-win. You win because you get to make money. You get to solve your audience's problems in a unique way that allows you to make money. And your audience gets their problem solved. So it's win-win. And I want to talk to you more about what that win-win looks like, because I think that's kind of a critical part of my philosophy and also what I teach. And I think that it will help you. It'll translate directly into you having greater success in your business. A couple other reasons that I want you to really let marinate in your brain why you should build a personal brand and why that should be a focus for you is you are building a community of people that know, like, and trust you, a community of raving fans. And that community, it's like on TikTok. You are talking one-to-one. You're creating content, talking to one person, and that's the person on the other side of your content watching, your viewer. And when you get to the point of building a community, bringing those leads, bringing that following from TikTok into a place like a Facebook group, you get to talk to them one to many. But the real magic, and you guys that have been in my group for a little bit, you probably know this, you get to interact with the other folks in the community. And so it becomes very much like a mastermind of sorts, because you get feedback not just from, the kind of figurehead in the group, which is me in this case, but all the other people who are on the same wavelength as you, in the same boat, and trying to pursue the same goals. So building a community is such an important part of building your personal brand. So it's not just TikTok, not just the TikTok community, but actually bringing those leads, those folks over to a Facebook group so that you can continue to build that relationship, build that know, like, and trust with them, and provide them value. Because ultimately, and we're going to talk about this more in just a sec, but providing that value to people, again, is a win-win. It allows you to establish your credibility and authority, but it also solves the problems of the people in your audience. So let's move on before I get too wound up from the excitement of talking about why providing value is so important. So if you haven't read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, if you haven't watched his TED Talk on YouTube, I will drop the link after this live is up. But something that he talks about, and it so resonates with me and what my approach is with online business, is there's the thinking part of our brains, the executive function where we get to plan and think ahead and all of that. That's the part of our brain that uses words to describe things, right? That's the rational, analytical part of us, the outside part of our brain that just formed, in the last several 100,000 years. And then there's the emotional part of our brains, the inside brain, the limbic brain or the lizard brain. And that's the emotional seat of our brain. So if you've ever had a gut feeling about someone or something, like you either don't like them, but you can't quite put your finger on it, or you just love them and you know that's your people, but you just can't quite articulate it with words. That's that part of your brain, that limbic part of your brain. And why that's important is the emotional part of our brains is how we make decisions. So people make decisions. We buy or we don't buy, or we, do whatever we do as we're going through our lives because of the emotional component in the way that we think. So we buy based on emotions. If we're talking about in the business capacity, people buy based on emotions. And then after we have that gut thing inside of us, or that emotional reaction guiding us to either buy or not buy, we then rationalize, or we back into why we made that decision in an intellectual way. So knowing that, it's important to be able to articulate, and this goes back to building that effective personal brand, who you are, what you do, and who you help. Because if people are out there responding to why you do what you do, and you're unable to articulate why you do what you do, what your motivation is, why you care to help people, then how will you ever get people to buy something from you? And ultimately, that's why we're here. We're all here to build a business, People don't buy what you do. There are a million people out there that have a similar offer to you, that offer a similar transformation or a similar product or service. They don't buy the what, they buy the why. And so that's super important and will continue to be relevant as we move on. So when you are not just creating content, but going through your life, going through your business, think of who you are and what you want to be known for. And that includes stuff like your tone. Do you want to come off as sarcastic, warm, energetic, enthusiastic, etc.? Your personality. So that could be things like compassionate, humorous, down to earth. Or you might be on more of, I want to come off as like super polished, super professional. Think of the things that you value. Something that I value, authenticity. And for those of you who know, and I'm an open book, but a little over 5 years ago, I was very unhappy working in a high-paying job in investment management. And I was heavy into drug and alcohol addiction. And the reason for that, part of the reason is I felt like I couldn't be my authentic self. I felt like if people could see the garbage that I felt like I was, that I didn't have my life together, I wasn't a composed, put together adult with all her life squared away, then they would, there was just so much shame. And, sorry, there are bugs in my office. But there was just so much shame around that. And going to rehab really kicked off my understanding of what it was to be authentic and why that was so important. Not just to keep me clean and sober, but just because that is at the heart, at the root of everything good, not just in business, but in life, is that authenticity and being okay with who we are. Because that, in a business sense, we convey that. We convey that like, I'm okay with myself and it's not about me anymore. When you get to be your authentic self and show up as your authentic self in your content, it becomes less about you trying to prove something, you trying to convince people, and it becomes more about how can I serve my audience? And that's everything. So build your character, not a character. And what I mean by that is we want to create content, telling our authentic story, being our authentic selves, not to come off as, this perfect guru, all-knowing expert from day one, but we want to be really clear about why we're doing what we're doing, why we're here, not just here on TikTok or on Facebook creating content, but here on this earth. And when we can connect with that purpose and that journey that we're taking from wherever we are currently to where we're trying to get to, and we are bringing the people, our viewers and our audience along on that journey with us, that is one of the most powerful ways to go about building your brand. So start to think about what is the better version of yourself, or that best version, that higher version of you that you're trying to get to on whatever journey you're on. If you're a fitness coach, if you're an affiliate marketer, whatever your niche or your profession is, or whatever it is that you're here trying to build, you're here because you're trying to become that higher version of yourself. So if you have a goal and it's build a 6-figure online business, or reach some kind of financial goal, ask yourself why. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Nobody actually cares about money. We care about what that money can do for us, what it can buy for us. And for most of us, it's some kind of freedom or some kind of choice or having options in our life. And so when you really drill down into why do I want to build a successful online business, that's where you can really get to the root of why you are trying to become that higher version of yourself. And that is what's going to resonate with your audience. Who do you want to serve? I love this. Service to others is another of my core values. And the reason why it's so important is because it does create that win-win situation. So you get to win by identifying the problems of your target audience, the people in your community, and solving them. And then those people will pay you because they're desperate. They want change. They want that transformation from wherever they are currently to that desired outcome. And so it's a win-win because you get to, make money and build your business, and they get their problem solved. It's like scratching each other's backs. So when you are trying to identify who your avatar is, keep in mind that your avatar is, generally speaking, some previous version of you. So when I first started my online business just over a year ago, my avatar was someone just like me. Someone who was sick of working a 9-to-5 job, who felt like she was made for more, had a greater purpose on this earth than just going to work 40 hours a week and being miserable and tired and drained when she got home, and not fulfilling any greater purpose and real service to others outside of, the 9-to-5 grind. And so because we are best positioned to help people like ourselves, because we understand intimately those problems, those pain points, the fears, the roadblocks, the needs and the desires of that particular person. Our avatar is our whole target audience, really boiled down to one individual person, and that's who we want to talk to in our content. But we're best positioned to help someone like us or a previous version of us because that used to be us. We see them, we hear them, we understand them because we used to be that person. And so we intimately understand what those problems and pain points are and what the current situation is and the things keeping people stuck, and then what that desired outcome looks like and how we can help them to achieve that. And I love this too. How can you serve your audience? So I was just having a conversation with somebody about this in the DMs. I think that we go through life and we have these experiences, jobs, relationships, problems we've overcome, addiction, grief, loss, like whatever those things are that we've overcome in our lives, those all contribute to who we are and how we can better serve our audience. So that could be things like expertise, courses you've taken. If you've gone to high school, to college, to trade school, it can be any kind of formal or informal education. Credentials like degrees, certifications, that type of a thing. It can also include soft skills. And I mean, soft skills are like less objective. They're more subjective, like leadership, verbal communication. And something else that I really want to kind of tie back into like the whole authenticity thing is things that you consider to be weaknesses or struggles. And that could be stuff that you've had, weaknesses or struggles you've overcome in the past or that you're still working through now. That's all part of capturing that journey of wherever you are currently, honoring your current self as you work toward that trajectory of becoming that higher version of you. And something I love, and I didn't coin this. I think actually I've heard it first from Dave Sharp from Legendary Marketer, but he talks about turning your mess into your message. And that is so freaking powerful. And I just want to differentiate that when we're talking about the weaknesses that we feel like we have or the struggles that we've overcome to get to this point, we are not sharing that with our audience to paint ourselves as some kind of saint or martyr. We're telling our audience about that, number one, to be authentic. Number two, to show that the stuff, the crap that we have gone through in our past has uniquely equipped us to help the people that are watching our content. Again, going back to, I'm very open about the fact that I am a recovering alcoholic and addict. There are so many things. I always joke that like the 90% of what I've learned has been through sports, working in retail, and going to rehab, like literally. And so it's like the struggles that I've had with addiction and alcoholism, some people might shy away from that and not want to create content or not want to reveal that. But I feel like the stuff that I learned by going through the difficulty and the challenge of getting sober, it equips me in so many unique ways that other people with a similar offer might not have. Like, I have all the compassion in the world for people who are fearful of moving through something that they perceive as difficult or impossible, because that used to be me. I didn't see any way out of the addiction that I was in. And so I know that feeling of, I want to build a business, I want to make my life better, but it seems impossible. It's so scary. And I feel like terrified, like mortally terrified to do that. So think of the things in your own life that you've overcome that maybe don't even seem like that big a deal. Maybe it was like a relationship that, you had a bad breakup, but the things that you learned from that, and we always learn from those negative experiences, and that's why they're so powerful, that equips you to help your audience in a way that no one else can. Because, not to sound cheesy, but each and every one of us are unique like our fingerprints, like a zebra. No two zebras have the same stripes. And in the same way, no two entrepreneurs have the same experiences, backstory, context in their life that uniquely equip them to serve their audience. And so that starts really with having self-awareness, having the awareness of, like, what are the prevalent positive and negative traits that you have? For me, procrastination has always been a struggle for me, and avoidance. Fortunately, through rehab and through entrepreneurship, I've learned tactics and skills and strategies to overcome that procrastination, because I would not be here, like, literally, like in a physical sense, if I had not learned how to face things that I wanted to avoid head on. So think of what's prevalent for you, both positive and negative. What is needed? Like, what do you need to do? What habits, skills, or traits do you need to take on to become that higher version of yourself? And again, better serve your audience. Then identify what those things are and implement new habits to become that better version, that higher version of yourself. For me, going back to, again, when I started my online business and I started creating content on TikTok, I was so afraid of people judging me. And I remember before this office was my office, it was my bedroom, sitting on my bed and recording my first TikTok 10 times in a row. And it must have taken me an hour. And I was just like, all right, I need to hit post. And I did. And the amount of apprehension and anticipation and negative, like the fear of judgment, which really was self-judgment, but that's a story for another day. But it was by pushing through that fear and feeling the fear and doing it anyway that allowed me to develop that as a habit, to continue to feel discomfort or feel fear and then push through it and develop that as a new habit and a new skill. So again, when you're creating content on TikTok, remember that you're documenting your journey of transformation in the context of how it allows you to best serve your audience. So they get to see you building these new skills, building these new habits, and achieving things that they want to achieve, because you are going to allow, like, your story and yourself to resonate with them so that they can see it's achievable because you've done it and you're showing them that you've done it. Another of my favorite subjects, feedback loops and market research. So think of everything that you do in your business. Let's use content creation as an example. You're opening a feedback loop. And so that's giving your audience an opportunity to have some kind of reaction, to give you some kind of feedback to that content. So if it's on TikTok, if you're not getting a lot of engagement on, let's say I put out a video and it doesn't get a lot of engagement, not a lot of views, I could look at that and say, well, I guess it means I'm stupid. I'm not cut out for this. I suck at content creation. I should quit. Or take a step back from that subjective experience of putting all your emotions into what you're doing. Take a step back and look at it objectively. See it as for what it is, which is market feedback. It's your market telling you, okay, we weren't super into this. And when you delve a little bit into the analytics and you see, okay, most people stopped watching this 30-second video 4 seconds in. So that tells me the first 4 seconds is an area that I need to improve. So that would be like the hook. So think of everything that you're doing as feedback from your market and listen to it. Like, I was just commenting on someone else's TikTok the other day that listening to your audience, asking the questions, knowing the questions to ask, and then actually listening to that and creating a unique solution to solve what they're asking for is the most underrated, talked about skill in entrepreneurship. Lori, I am not talking to you, but now I am. So we get that feedback from our market in indirect ways, like on TikTok. I'm talking about the watch time on our videos, the engagement, the comments that people leave, that type of a thing. But it also comes through direct feedback. And that happens by connecting with people through the DMs. If you are in this group and on this live right now, I can almost guarantee you that we've communicated through DM or on a call before. And the reason for that is, number one, I want you to know that I'm here as a resource for you to solve your problems. And number two, you're providing me with invaluable feedback because you are my people. You are my market, You're my audience that gives me all the information I need to improve and better solve the problems of my audience, which is you. So the more that you can connect with people, part of being a personal brand is being a person. So the more you can be a person to the people in your audience and have that personal conversation, the better off you will be. I promise you. It might seem like a lot of work. It might seem like this is for nothing. I'm not getting anything out of this. When you're setting yourself up for a long-term sustainable business, building those relationships and offering free value to people is everything. I know this from experience, and it's also will make you feel amazing. And again, going back to that win-win scenario, what we have control over versus what we don't have control over. So the serenity prayer, if you've ever been to a 12-step meeting, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things that you can't change. You can't change people clicking on your link and buying whatever it is you're selling. You can't change, if your call to action is, hey, come join my Facebook group, and nobody joins. You can't control what other people do. What you can control is your output. So that means how you react to things and then your behavior as a result. So think of the feedback loop. You're creating a piece of content. Your audience is going to have some kind of reaction to it. And then you need to adjust and iterate your strategy based on the feedback that you get. So if your audience is saying, hey, tell us more about how to build a Facebook group. Tell us more about how to create better content on TikTok. Listen to that feedback and then create more content like that. It's like literally that easy. And that's the stuff that you do have control over versus the actions that other people take, which you don't have control over. So save yourself, save your sanity by just focusing on the things that you can control. And the willingness to serve your audience, like your life depends on it, because it does, or at least your livelihood. There's like this, I know this sounds kind of hippy-dippy, but there's a law of reciprocity out there in the universe. And I think it has psychological origins as well, but what you put out, what you sow, you will reap. And so if you're putting out high-value content and you're trying the best that you know how with the knowledge, tools, and skills that you have at this current state to serve your audience, to solve their problems, and to just provide them value without any expectation of reciprocity. It's ironically when you can detach from your own outcomes and your own success and worry about serving your audience the best way that you can, that you will have the greatest success. And I've seen that in my own business. I've seen that in the businesses of my clients and other people that I know that work online. And I can guarantee you that when you are able to detach, and I know it's hard, I know firsthand that it's difficult to detach from your own outcomes and your own success because we all have bills to pay and we need to put food on the table and have families and cats to support. But when you can detach from your outcomes and really make your audience and serving their needs the focus of your content, that is where you will achieve the most success. So find out what your audience needs and wants, then figure out how to help them get that. And that might be someone else's YouTube video that shows something that you don't know the answer to. But as you are finding out what those answers are, add that to your repertoire and then create your own content about that. And the way you find out what your audience needs and wants is simply by asking them and knowing how to ask them, because sometimes people don't know what they don't know. So if somebody is coming into your Facebook group for the first time and they're like, I don't know, I just came here to learn about personal branding, you need to know the questions to ask them to really diagnose and treat the problems and the pain points that they're having so you can best serve them. And then provide content that educates them. And that's, again, so critical in that win-win situation. when you're educating your audience and you're providing them high value content that answers questions, you're allowing them to give words to the problem that they're experiencing. So somebody might come into my Facebook group and say, I don't know what my problems and pain points are around personal branding because I'm just here to learn about personal branding. I don't know. So by creating content like this, now people are developing some kind of context to be able to say, oh, okay, my TikTok content is not allowing my audience to get to know, like, and trust me. And it gives people the vocabulary to describe their problems in a way that will help you better solve those problems. It also shows your audience that you see, hear, and understand them because that used to be you. And so you know intimately what they're going through and how to solve it because you've gone through that already, or you are in the process of figuring it out and then teaching them as you go. And it also positions you as the one that can provide that solution that you already know that they need. So they might be coming into your Facebook group totally cold, meaning cold traffic. They don't know that they have a problem that needs to be solved, or they might just be figuring out that they have a problem that needs to be solved, but they really can't quite articulate what they want or need at this point. So when you're able to describe the problem that your audience is having, the person in your audience that you're talking to, when you're able to describe the problem that they have better than they can, that positions you as the expert, because then it's going to click and they're going to say, oh my gosh, it's like she's reading my mind. But really, you're just serving the person that you used to be. Speaking of cold traffic, so cold traffic, they don't know that they have a problem that you can solve, or they're just discovering or putting words to that problem. And the way that you turn cold traffic is very hard to sell to, especially on TikTok, especially if you have a high ticket offer, which I highly recommend that everyone does. But you turn that cold traffic into warm traffic by educating them about their problem, understanding what it is and what solutions you can provide to best solve that problem. And again, warm and hot traffic, meaning more educated traffic, is easier to sell to than cold traffic, especially when it's that high ticket offer. Think about it. Would you, so a perfect example, I just had to do my taxes. You guys, get a CPA. If you have an online business and you're making significant income down the road, it pays to have a CPA, period. And so I had an idea of the problem I had, which is I have to do my taxes and I have no idea where to start. So I was kind of cold at that point. Then I was introduced to a CPA and I had a call with him, and he was able to articulate things I didn't even know I needed. And I was like, this is it. This is the guy. And he asked all the right questions, and really he was trying to determine more information so that he could find my pain points and my problems so that he could tell me how he could solve them. That is moving someone from being cold traffic to red hot. And then I was like, yes, I will pay you a ridiculous amount of money to take care of this so I don't have to deal with it. So that high ticket offer, he was able to sell me on in a 30-minute phone conversation because he knew the questions to ask, knew how to find my pain points, and then told me exactly how he could solve them. But if you haven't read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, or have not watched his TED Talk, which I would show you, but I think Facebook frowns on it because I don't own the rights to this video, I'm going to drop the link to the video so you can watch his TED Talk. It's amazing. Take this away. If nothing else, if your success and your results is the only thing that is motivating you long-term in your business, you will fail, period. What I'm not saying is if you are here because you are trying to change your life and you're trying to earn that income, change the topography of your business so that you go from where you're at currently to whatever that next goal is, and that's about money for you, that's fine. That's where we all started. That's where I started when I started my online business. I just wanted to get out of my 9-to-5 job. But learn along the way to cultivate some form of motivation around the results of the people you're serving. That will serve you long term, I promise you. So in this video, he talks about a perfect example using the Wright brothers and some other dude that was trying to build an airplane at the same time. And he was only driven by money and fame and prestige. When the Wright brothers built the airplane, he quit because there was no point for him to continue on because he was only in it for the fame and the money. So as soon as that fame and money, the opportunity for that disappeared, he disappeared. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to drop that link after I'm done with this live, because it's worth watching and it's worth reading that book.